These are 10 new games added to Xbox Game Pass that you should definitely play. The last couple of weeks have seen quite a lot of new additions added to the Xbox Game Pass library, which was much needed, as I'm not gonna lie, it was getting a little bit boring, the catalog of games that we had to play, and you guys in the comment section were always saying, like, could we find some better recommendations than Microsoft Flight Simulator and Halo Master Chief? Well, thankfully, we've got loads of new titles across a whole range of genres, and in this video, we're going to break down some of the best ones that are definitely worth a download. Let's first start off with Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Now, there's quite a few Tomb Raider games available on Xbox Game Pass now. We've always had Rise of the Tomb Raider, which is that one with the snow and all that type of stuff, but this month, we've seen 2 new Tomb Raider games added onto Xbox Game Pass. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is the most recent Tomb Raider game that's probably worth talking about the most, but you can also play Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. Now, this is one of my personal favorite Tomb Raider games. I've played this on PC, PS4, Xbox One. I've played it on like basically every console copy about 2 or 3 times. One of the sort of first new generations of the reboot of the Tomb Raider franchise. So that's now also on Game Pass as well. So you can effectively play through the entire series of games all the way up to Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Now, specifically, let's focus on Shadow of the Tomb Raider because this one's got the most exciting feature set for next generation consoles. Now, originally it was released, I think it was 2019 on the Xbox One X, so it has always been a 4K title, but it now has got optimization for the Series S and X, so you get higher frame rates, and also the performance of this game is unbelievable, both from a graphical standpoint and also how smooth it is. Now, you have the option to play it in performance mode or in, obviously, graphics mode. Now, I personally have been playing it in graphics mode, and it felt fine. I don't want to throw numbers out there, but it did feel like 4K 60 FPS. It ran very smoothly. Now, if you've never played any of the Tomb Raider games, these are basically single-player storyline games similar to the movies, where you go in and complete a series of different missions. Basically, it's like Uncharted. It's very similar to the Uncharted games, but you play as a Lara Croft. Just all the gameplay mechanics are very comparable. And just like in traditional Tomb Raider fashion, the storyline is very, very good. And of course, the vast range of environments that you get to explore, especially in each of the individual titles, whether you play the first one, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, each iteration within this franchise basically develops on the actual gameplay mechanics, but also the details and the types of scenarios you find yourself within the gameplay. Now, one note that I do want to mention in regards to this title is it's very easy to miss that it is optimized for the Series S and X. For some reason, when it's in the Xbox Game Log catalog, it hasn't actually got an updated thumbnail where it has that X and S in the bottom left-hand corner to say that it is next-gen updated. So you just assume that it isn't. But once you click into it and actually you dive into the more details on the actual store page, this is where you discover all of the features that it does support. And then once it is finally in your library and installed on the console, that's when it does display the optimized logo. So it's very easy to overlook this because of that fact that I personally only really like to install games that are Series S and X optimized for the next gen consoles. So I sometimes just don't download stuff. So it's quite important to be aware of that. There might be other titles on Game Pass that fall into a similar bracket. Next up, we've got a Rocket League ripoff, which is called Turbo Golf Racing. Now, there are mixed reviews on this game. Some people say it's super fun. Some people say it's just a terrible version of Rocket League. Effectively, this title is like Rocket League, but also Mario Kart and kind of Sonic, I would say. Sort of all merged into one. There's a lot of stuff going on here. I personally don't think this is too bad of a game. If you were to have purchased this, when you look at some of the reviews, obviously there's some people complaining that it ain't really worth like 30, 40 quid. Totally get that, but it's essentially kind of free on Xbox Game Pass, so it's worth an install. It's something completely different. It's sort of one of those pastime games. I used to find Rocket League was always one of those for my friends personally. We might be playing on the PC, we were like PC gamers, but we might have Rocket League booted up on a separate tab or on our PS4s, and we would just jump into a game of Rocket League while stuff was loading in, while we were waiting for a lobby in Battlefield or something, or CSGO, to sort of fill up. And this is one of those sort of games. Obviously, using Xbox Quick Resume, you can jump between different titles, just hop into a game very quickly and then sort of forget about it 10 minutes later. The major complaint about this title is specifically around the car engine physics, obviously how the cars drive. I think most people are so used to the physics within Rocket League, switching over to this rip-off version of the game, it feels drastically different. So obviously, there's like a little bit of a, oh, I don't think it is as good, but a lot of people that have played this for extensive hours say it's got a learning curve and it is perfectly fine once you understand the mechanics. Now, just like Rocket League, this is an 8-player online multiplayer game. There's multiple different modes. You can do races, which is basically Mario Kart, or that Hot Wheels game as well, which is also available on Xbox Game Pass. That's a little bonus game for you that got added recently, Hot Wheels 2 or whatever it's called. But then there is also time trial modes and golf mode. And of course, because this is a racing driving game, it does also have car customization, so you can personalize your vehicle to yourself to express your personality a little bit within the game lobbies. Next up, let's talk about Diablo 4. Now, Diablo 4, it's quite a controversial game, this one. Obviously, it's owned by Blizzard, all this type of stuff, and Diablo 3 was an absolute banger. And then they released Diablo 4, and there's a lot of microtransactions and stuff that really irritated the community surrounding this game, but I don't think it's too terrible, and also it's very, very good at showcasing the graphics available and the graphics fidelity available on the Xbox Series X in particular. So back at the end of last year, I actually built an Xbox gaming setup in collaboration with Panasonic. Now, Panasonic are actually the official partners of Diablo 4. They're the TV partner for that, so they've worked extensively with them, obviously crafting the perfect image quality. And Diablo 4 is a brilliant game at showcasing how OLED operates, because obviously you've got the darks and the high light environment, so you've got the perfect black levels, and it shows all of the different contrasts plus the saturation. So it is a very good game at obviously showing your friend going, this is what OLED can do versus obviously a standard backlit LED panel. So I have played a little bit of Diablo 4 because of that, and having to understand obviously how that OLED technology was operating within that title in particular. Now, this was something a little bit different than my typical game genres. This is an RPG game, and obviously it's from that top-down perspective as well. But since playing that game back in December, there's been loads of new content and also updates. There's just been the drop of the brand new season, which has improved some of the major complaints about the game, which was surrounding mostly the microtransactions and the lack of loot within the map for players to be able to find resources. And also just announced, I was actually in Dusseldorf at a Panasonic event where this announcement happened, is the new DLC that'll be dropping at the end of this year, which is called Vessel of Hatred. So this is going to add completely different environment into Diablo 4 this time, which obviously is much like more jungle-y vibes. So obviously it's usually very dark, the Diablo 4 map. So this is going to introduce much brighter, more vibrant, saturated colors. So it's going to show, okay, so obviously that OLED partnership they have with Panasonic a little bit more. Next up, we've got a sports game, which is NHL 24. Now, obviously this is the ice hockey games. Being British, not really a huge sport over here, ice hockey. Although that being said, I did actually go watch some random ice hockey match in London the other day that was just randomly on. My mate was like, let's go watch some ice hockey. Never seen it in my life, but it was actually very enjoyable. But regardless of the fact that this isn't a huge sport in the UK, I have always enjoyed playing these games. In particular with my brother, we used to always, you got FIFA and all those types of games, that we would often play NHL on like a Sunday, dead chill, and it was just always hilarious. You could smash into each other. Obviously, it's like split screen, sort of two co-op players. It's a sports game, so you share the screen, and it was just always an absolute laugh playing this game, and also having no idea what the rules were because we were just completely uneducated on how the sports actually work. So we would just smash into one another and completely mess around. Now, since my brother actually moved out of home, it's actually been a few years since I played an ice hockey game, but seeing one drop on Xbox Game Pass made me revisit and have a little bit of childhood nostalgia exploring this title. Now, of course, this is one of the latest versions of this game, so it is Series S and X optimized, so it's 4K, beautiful graphics, it's got HDR, all the stuff you want from your next-gen console, and to my surprise, it has quickly become one of my favorite games right now on Xbox Game Pass. On the topic of things that are my favorite, let's talk about Star Wars. Star Wars Jedi Survivor only released last year, which I purchased for like, it's an EA Games. I think it was probably like $70 or something ridiculous. But fast forward 12 months, this title is now available on Xbox Game Pass because obviously Xbox have got that partnership with EA Play, so you do get a lot of those sports games, a lot of those EA titles like Battlefield and so on, ported straight over to Game Pass in a very quick amount of time. Now, Star Wars Jedi Survivor improves a lot over the original Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and most specifically, this is in the performance, the graphics, and also the cutscenes. The lighting in this game with all the ray tracing, it was very cinematic and engaging to actually complete the storyline. Now, unlike the first title in this franchise, Jedi Survivor does build out the levels much better. It's more open world as well, as way more for you to explore. The first game had like open world segments, but the maps just felt a little bit like Mario, as stupid as that might sound. I know, like how in Mario you can explore around those different parts of the map, and then you go and basically to like a little portal thing, and you'll click go, and then it'll start the mission. But you got like these little things you can run around in, like a little sort of grass area. That's kind of like how the original Star Wars game felt like in these franchises. Jedi Fallen Order, you just had these little cordoned off areas that you randomly run around, and the enemies would spawn. Then you would like basically go to a checkpoint to launch into the mission, or go back to the ship and teleport to the mission. Whereas with Jedi Survivor, it has expanded on this a little bit more and brought a little bit more life into these environments and stuff for you to kind of do. There's also lots of enhancements to the skill trees and also gaming mechanics that you can do with Cal to try and help the title feel drastically different and improved over the first one, so you're not just running around slashing X all the time, spamming the lightsabers. There's a lot more combos and creativity that you can do to keep the game more interesting. Next up, we've got a day one launch title dropping on Xbox Game Pass that is literally, it drops in 24 hours. I'll be filming this video right now. And that is Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. Hellblade 1 was critically acclaimed as a very good story game, very dark in terms of its actual storylines and topics that it covered. But within Hellblade 2, we've now got the next generation version. I think it's now an Xbox Studio as well since the acquisition of the first game. There's a lot of stuff going on there. So hopefully there'll be quite a lot of cool features leveraged from the next generation performance of these newer consoles. There's a lot of hype surrounding this title. Hopefully it is good. Xbox does need some pretty decent games at the moment right now on its platform to keep it competitive with PlayStation. But if you are playing it, let me know in the comment section down below if it's actually worth a download. On the topic of Xbox acquiring various different studios, obviously they recently purchased Bethesda, which brought over loads of titles to Xbox Game Pass, including Fallout, Elder Scrolls, Prey, and Wolfenstein, so many others that I've probably forgotten about in that list. Now, Fallout is probably one of the most important ones to talk about at the moment with the latest release of the TV series and all the hype surrounding this franchise currently in this moment in time. But of course, Fallout 4 recently got a massive update that introduced lots of next generation features. Now, this was rumored for a very long time that it was coming to Xbox and also PS5, but then it went quiet. But then as soon as the TV series dropped, they obviously dropped this patch. This increases the performance to 4K 60 FPS, higher frame rates, better performance modes to leverage 120 FPS, ultra-wide support as well if you are on PC, which I guess is kind of irrelevant because this is an Xbox video, but good to know. There's also improvements to graphics, textures, and some mod support, as well as some new storyline missions that coincide with obviously the TV series. There's a lot of different stuff going on here in a very simple little update that's definitely worth it. Now, when this did first drop, there was some crazy glitches, just like with anything in this, every time something drops, something breaks. But there was loads and loads of issues with this patch. People were really complaining that they just preferred the old version of the game. But fast forward around 2 to 3 weeks since all of that drama, it seems to be running really well, and I've been playing it personally on my own console. While we are talking about Fallout 4, probably one of my favorite features in this game is the base building aspect of it. I literally got this game way back when it launched, 2015, 16, whatever it was, just to build bases. I just really enjoyed that mechanic of it. I may as well have just played The Sims, to be honest, but I really enjoyed being able to kind of do whatever you sort of liked within that open world and build various different structures. Another notable mention on Xbox Game Pass is, of course, Fallout 3. This is an Xbox 360 title, but it has got some resolution enhancements. So when you do play it on an Xbox Series X, for example, it does increase the resolution, so it looks a million times better than the Xbox 360 version. Just sort of helps modernize the title. It isn't a remaster or anything like that. It's just literally, it's what they did with Red Dead Redemption 2. They just increased the output resolution of the game, and it looked like a completely new title. So there's quite a lot to explore in regards to Fallout on Xbox Game Pass, and you can work your way through pretty much all of the games if you wanted to. Another game that features quite a lot of base building and survival is Ark Survival Ascend. Now, this is Ark Survival Evolved, that dinosaur game, which is awesome, by the way. I used to play this on PC, but it has been essentially remastered, rebooted. I don't know how you want to phrase that, but it's now running on Unreal Engine 5. So it's the exact same game, but it's now within a different container on Unreal Engine 5. So you basically boot it up separately in a new game that you have to purchase again, but actually you can just get it on Xbox Game Pass now, so you don't need to spend 40, 50 quid on the same game. Ark Survival Ascend now has 4K capabilities. It's got ray tracing, VRR support, and also mouse and keyboard support. So this is a brilliant title for replicating a gaming PC if that's something that you're interested in. We've done a lot of videos about that in the past. If you want me to do an updated video on that topic, let me know in the comments, because there's loads of games now that do use mouse and keyboard on the Xbox Series S and X that weren't released or supported back when I did the video around, I think, almost 2 years ago now. One thing we do need to discuss surrounding Ark Survival of Ascend. My word, it's the same game. It's just got Ascend instead of Evolved at the end. Basically, this game is renowned for performing awful. The original version performed awful on PC, performed awful on PS4, Xbox One, Xbox Series S, X. Any platform that you boot this game up on, it performs awful. Like, I've got a $10,000 PC here. It would struggle on that RTX 4090, even playing on something as insane as that. Now, unfortunately, Ark Survival Ascend compounds this issue even further. It's got very bad performance. There's no huge increase in terms of the performance, a lot of complaints there. But also, if you do have an Xbox Series S, there's a lot of people saying that there's actually a downgrade playing Ark Survival Ascend instead of Evolved, particularly in some of the textures and the clouds, just not looking quite as good as the Unreal Engine 4 version of this game, which is a huge shame because this title is awesome. It's a really, really good game, but if you could just run it like, I would say, like even 60 FPS, 100 FPS, I'm not asking for anything crazy, very consistently, that would make it a million times better and way more accessible for more people to actually play it for long periods of time. Personal favorite on Xbox Game Pass that I play every single year is the Formula 1 franchise. Formula 1 is, I would say, my favorite racing games. I like Forza, I like stuff like that, but the F1's great career mode. You can progress through as a driver, switch between various different teams. It's very engaging. And although you couldn't really categorize it as a simulator game, it's got a nice hybrid between between arcade and simulator, like a simcade title. It's quite realistic in terms of its physics, and of course the various different car setups you can do to try and improve the performance of the vehicle, but you don't need to have a steering wheel in order to be competitive at it. It's still very playable with a controller. It's a very good hybrid title. Now, every single year, just like most sports games, they do release the old version of the title. So of course, F1 2024 is just about a drop, or if not already out, I can't remember. I personally just always wait until the last year's game comes on Xbox Game Pass around 8 months after it was originally released. And that's exactly what I've done here with F1 2023, did the same with F1 2022, F1 2021, and so on. I've literally never purchased these games since like Xbox Game Pass existed. I just play the old version of the title. Now, F1 is becoming a much more worldwide sport. It's very popular in UK and Europe and all over, but obviously they're expanding a lot into the American territory, with lots of new tracks added recently, including both Miami and also Las Vegas. And within F1 2023, you can play both of those brand new tracks. So you've got pretty much all of the new content for the F1 calendar, and all that's really changed is the liveries on the cars. Like, fundamentally, there's hardly anything changing between these games each year, other than maybe a driver or two has switched to a different team. Probably one of the biggest weaknesses of F1 2022 were the tire physics. They changed these quite a lot because of the regulations within the F1 series itself in real life. The tires changed, the size of the tires changed. So it made that game quite difficult to play. It was very slippy on some of the apexes and frustrating. A lot of that was fixed in F1 2023. And I actually did a video with the McLaren F1 esports team, who are the world champions at playing this game at a competitive level in the esports series. And they showed and trained me how to get faster and more competitive within these titles. And it's a very addictive game to play once you understand all of these things. Now, this final title, I wouldn't necessarily really call it a game, but actually a playable movie. This is called The Quarry, and it's an 8-hour-long movie that you just watch. It's a bunch of cutscenes, and then you make choices along the way. So you just literally sit there watching cutscenes and basically make a choice as to which cutscene will play next. Even though that sounds kind of awful as a game, it's got an outstanding amount of 5-star reviews. Everyone says this is an awesome title. Just sit back, relax, click whatever choice you want, and then that will progress through the story to then have a different outcome. That is basically it in a nutshell. You just sit and watch a load of cutscenes, press a couple of different buttons, and then just watch the story unfold before your eyes. I don't know whether that's something you'd be too interested in. It's kind of like that Until Dawn game was a little bit like that, but it actually had gameplay, so you would make multiple different choices, it would play different cutscenes, and then you would have segments of gameplay to actually explore those. But this title doesn't seem to have those segments of gameplay. It's literally just cutscene after cutscene after cutscene. In my personal opinion, that ain't really a game that's worth $30, $40, but if you can download it on Xbox Game Pass and play it for 7 to 8 hours, probably is worth it as a fun little experience and something a little bit different if you are maybe feeling a little bit tired. Now, if you want to learn more about my video that I made with the McLaren F1 esports team, where we went down to their HQ, trained with them for 48 hours, and tried to become an esports gamer at the top level, you should check out this video next. But as always, I've been Ben Rowlands. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and I will see you in the next one.